most people
like,
are in an abusive
oh,
relationship with
definitely,
themselves.
Oh, a
absolutely.
psychological one. Okay.
Self-love, yeah.
Not
Well,
physically.
some
yeah.
people do physical too.
Yeah,
Some
that's
do.
true. That's true. Yeah.
And it's amazing
true.
that, if you're talking to a friend and they're in a relationship where they're getting beat up, you would say, well, you got to leave
the hell
that.
out
You
of
got to
there.
leave it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't people do that for themselves?
Yeah. And I
That's
think
a great point.
I think this is the movement that's happening now, because we're really going deeper with self-love. The work that I'm doing, you're doing, the work that Joe is doing, we're digging deeper in that. And it's no more like, oh, you got to get a massage and you got to take care of yourself. It goes way deeper. And we're talking about retraining your brain and conditioning yourself with positive thoughts and flooding your stuff and recreating a whole different environment and taking action in that space. But it gets down to loving yourself enough to do it. I do it, and I had to work through it. I'm spending money on physical therapy now, and it's working for me. And every time I go, and the idea of the money comes up, I'm like, I'm worth it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm worth it. I would give money to people. Like, why wouldn't I do that for myself? So I'm doing something now that's absolutely working for me, right? What are you doing?
Put my hand out. Giving out hundreds, baby. You have $100 baby.
I am. I manifest hundreds. But that's the thing. It's like going back to, like, why can't I spend this money on myself when it is absolutely working for me and I'm feeling better? And so the first couple times it came up, I'm like, no. Plus, I'm supporting a woman in business who is very good at what she does. And there's the recycling of the energy. I'm like, wow, this feels really good. So when I go, I always have the money for it. Yeah. It's always there. It's not even a thought anymore. So again, working through that and believing, now, people don't have to go spend money on themselves. Just giving yourself permission to have 5 minutes of meditation or 10 minutes of peace. Like,
give
tell
yourself a break.
So-and-so to
Go
go.
expression.
Yeah.
Give yourself a break.
Mm-hmm. Because there will always be something to do. Yeah. Always, always, always. And if you don't start creating it for yourself, you'll always have something else to do.
And think of it this way. If we believe that we're source energy, so we are God, we're God here to experience the glory of what God is, right? So if you look at it that way, then for you to have faith in God, you have to have faith in yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't have faith in yourself, you don't have faith in God.
No,
and true. Then if you don't help yourself, God can't help you because there's no faith there.
Yes, I like that. That's powerful.
It is, but
it goes hand in hand. It's, you know what I saw when you saying that? The infinity. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just the flow of energy.
It is.
Constant, back and forth.
Within yourself.
Yeah.
That's where it starts.
Absolutely. That's the thing. It's got nothing to do with them and everything to do with this.
Yes.
Bring it back here.
Absolutely.
Go within.
Bring it home, baby.
Bring it on home. Literally. Home to this sacred space within. This I am presence that's connected to this powerful energy. And I have to say, that's the creator energy. When you believe in that space, and I have to say, I recently had an event and I was committed to totally trusting when this event was coming together. Every time I brought fear about like selling tickets or things that came up, I was like, nope, I'm co-creating this with God. God, go out and bring the people in. And it was way more successful than my even vision of it. And the way it had come about, the people that had come in, I'm like, that was totally God, because I was trusting and faithful in that energy. There was no lack vibration. There was no fear vibration. And when like the person I was working with, she started to bring the fear. I was like, I need you to affirm we're selling out. Mm-hmm. We're selling out, right? Mm-hmm. And again, it was just that constant reiteration, and there was a power in it. There was this strength in it. And I have to say, it was a successful event. And I'm like, man, there's something with co-creating with the universe and just believing in that power and making adjustments accordingly. Like, things didn't work out that I wanted. I could have spent money on things that I really wanted. I didn't. So, and in the end, I'm glad I didn't, because it worked out perfectly. So I stepped out of what I really wanted and allowed what was to be. Yep. And it was beautiful.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing for me. Like, I decided, it's like, you know what? It's time to step up what I'm doing. So I booked a full day workshop at the church and I started advertising it. And, I don't think until that day I'm going to exactly know what's going to come out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but I'm relinquishing control of that and just saying, you know what? I just know I'm supposed to do this.
Yes.
And
yes.
So I've just been listening to stuff and getting information and doing my work on myself, and stuff's coming in. I'm like, oh, that's what I'll talk about that, or maybe this. And so all I'm doing is filling myself up with stuff that makes me feel joy and that works for me. And then I just figured that's going to spill out.
That's the
at the
creator
workshop.
energy.
Exactly.
And I say for you, through this process, enjoy it.
Oh,
Soak it
absolutely.
in, right? Like, God, this feels so good. And I have to say, when that event was over, and that was the thing, I was loving the process. I'm like, this is easy. This is so fun. I'm enjoying this so much. And when it was all said and done, everybody left. There was only a few people who were cleaning up. I laid down on the floor and I was like, man, I just gave birth to an energy baby. Like, I just felt like I had to lay down and everything was like out there. But it felt, because it was the conclusion of something that I had been working on for months.
Your energy hips will
And
never
now
be
it
the
was
same.
totally.
That's
Oh,
a
they'll
great
never-
analogy.
My energy hips will never be the
Yes.
same. But again, now it was like, what's the next?
Yep.
What are we going to do next? And it fuels the fire. There's this power in it, this
Definitely.
fun energy, right?
And that's about that progress.
Yeah.
If you're not making progress, you're always going to feel like there's something missing.
Yeah.
But when you just take the joy and just say, all right, what's next? How can we do this better? How can we take it to the next level?
Run with it. You know the expression, just run with it.
Mm-hmm. And I have to say, one of the important things after that was I gave myself time to rest.
Mhm.
Instead of saying, okay, what's the next thing? And risking burnout, I think I slept for like 3 days after that and just didn't do anything. But I knew when you're in that much of a creator energy and you're working with this powerful vibration, I went home and I just crashed for like 3 days. I just slept.
But being in that space is what's going to allow the new to come in.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to
Totally.
be in that silence
Totally. To
and
come
stuff
back.
to
To let
open yourself up.
Replenish
open
and
yourself
replenish.
and let the
Yeah.
creativity come in. You
Yeah.
have to have that downtime.
Yeah.
You know, as a writer, I mean,
Right. That's when the stuff comes to you.
Yeah.
Same thing when we do mediumship. We put ourselves in that altered state
Yeah.
where it's kind of like daydreaming,
Yeah, totally.
and the stuff flows through.
Mhm.
Because you can't do it if you're too focused on everything.
Yeah.
And you ask anyone that's a draws or paints or does music, composes or writes.
Sacred space.
Yeah.
Hmm. I actually now, I've got so much information coming that I have a little notebook.
Mhm.
And I was at a red light today and I had a topic for a podcast. And I pulled out the notebook, I wrote it down,
Yeah.
and then the light turned red and green, and I went.
my phone
So,
recorder, that's my baby.
totally.
I'm always driving, I
Yeah.
get something, I have to say it in the recorder
Mhm.
so I don't forget.
mhm.
Absolutely. I mean, I keep a pad of paper on my bed.
Yeah.
And I woke up the other day, 3:00 in the morning, and with a pen, with the lights off, and I'm writing.
Yeah.
And I've done that before. So,
Can you read it the next day?
you know, in the past, I had some difficulty, but after a few times, I can.
Yeah.
What
Nice.
I usually do is I'll just open up the pad to a totally different page
Yeah.
without seeing it and do the back of it and just hope it's not on top of something else because I've done that before.
Oops.
But yeah, I've had some really wonderful experiences that way. Absolutely fantastic.
Mm.
So I literally sleep with it right there.
That's awesome.
That's when you know you're dialed in.
Mhm.
That's when you know you're feeling this essence of this unconditional love. But I have to say, you have to really work towards or be conscious of being in it continuously, because you dip in and out of it.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that whole human experience, I wasn't in this love vibration. The whole like laundry thing,
Yeah.
I wasn't in the whole unconditional love vibration.
You were in the
I
human
was human.
experience.
I was having the human experience, but I embraced the human experience, and I can't say I liked it, but
You
I
can-
accepted
You
it.
can enjoy tapping into that human level of
I accepted
consciousness.
it. I'm like,
That's,
totally.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's
You
just
know?
not staying there.
Yeah, but I think one of the things to always look at is, you know, if it's coming from this inspired place, you know, inspiration doesn't give you all the steps; it gives you what's next.
Yeah.
You know, so
Totally.
if something comes into you, and you say, I don't know how this is going to play out, it's probably inspired.
Mm.
If it's something's coming in and you're like, I have to do this, well, how is this going to end? Like if you sit down to write a book and you're worried about the last chapter before you even figure out what the book's about, that's not an inspired action. But if you sit down and say, I just got to write about this topic, and you just write down, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, a book could come out of this.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
One step. At
you,
least
you,
further.
yeah, if it's source inspired, it's going to be about this moment now, because that's all that this energy is about is now.
What I had the other night was I'm working with someone in my new author program, and he hasn't picked a title yet. We have some working titles and stuff. He hasn't picked a title. And so I was thinking about it before I went to bed, and I woke up, like I said, 3:30 in the morning. I was writing titles for his book.
Wow.
That's how my first book, Hello Anyone Home, I got that title like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning,
Wow.
and I wrote that down. So I know that Spirit is on the same level working with me and him. And so we have a couple of working titles there that I'm going to ask him if he's interested in.
See, yeah.
So
Coming out of that
Co-creating.
sleep state, your consciousness is expanded at
Right.
that
Yeah.
point.
yeah,
So you're tapped into that other energy.
and I asked for Spirit to intervene and give us ideas and inspiration on a lot of things that I'm working on. And you ask for it, they will. But you have to kind of let them get to you, because sometimes we don't let that information
Well, one of
come
the
through.
big things is doing the inner work.
Mhm.
So you have, and I have done a lot of inner work, clearing out the programs, old beliefs, old ways of doing things.
Yep.
Like really, we've had to go and do the inner work to be able to get to this point. So letting people also know that it is a process,
Yeah.
and that we don't just get this stuff because we're all dialed in, and it took work. This isn't something that just happens. Like, I've been doing this for 10 years, but you cannot work on people if you're not working on yourself.
Yeah.
So we have to understand that this vibration also expects us to clear and cleanse and shift and change and grow, and what you believe today could be totally transformed 2 days from now, right?
You have to be willing to, in essence, kill the old you to step
Yeah.
into the new you. You
And
have
I
to not
hate
be
say
worried
do the
about
work, because
destroying
it doesn't have to be daunting. It doesn't have to be like slave labor, but yeah, you're gonna have to dig, and there
It's
may
like-
be some tears.
It's like molting.
Mm.
You're releasing the old, but it's still you.
Yep.
Yeah,
But you're creating a new you.
yeah,
Caterpillar and the butterfly.
Yep.
yeah. And you can't go back. The butterfly can't go back.
Yep.
And that's the space we're in. We've all had that human part of us, maybe jobs that we hated or things that we were doing that we didn't like, relationships, things like that. That was like that outgrowing this chrysalis. But the thing is, like, once you're this butterfly, you can't go back.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get back
Once you
in
take
there.
that big step, yeah.
You can't go back.
But
And it's great,
but
too.
you could be a butterfly that walks everywhere. That pretends you're the old person still. So people that can,
He would say that.
but because
You're right. But
the
yes,
thing is-
you
but-
would
but
go
you can-
there.
A
but people
walking
can-
butterfly.
Because
No,
people
he's
can-
pushing it.
people can learn something
Yes.
and expand and then bring themselves back to where they were before. And even though they're expanded,
But then,
it's like they forget that they have wings.
but then they didn't get the
Yeah, I
butterfly
get it.
moment, because once you have it, you can't come back.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I disagree.
Well, once you really have it and you start to go back, you're like, oh no, you can't go back.
Well, a lot of times you catch yourself. So
Yeah.
if you go back, it's not
Yeah.
as long. So butterflies,
Yes. Okay.
instead
I
of
get that.
walking all the way, the butterfly will take a couple steps and then fly.
Wait a minute. You're
You know?
right. You remember it faster.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I don't think enlightenment is a place that you get to and stay. Enlightenment's
No.
a place that
You're in and out.
you connect to. You're either connecting to all that is in this higher level of consciousness, or sometimes you connect to a human level of
Yeah,
consciousness
Totally.
and take the clothes
I
out.
say that, like, when I think
Yeah.
I know, something shifts and I know nothing.
Mm.
And then I think I know, and then I realize I know nothing. And it's just a matter of just navigating through that energy. That's why I think books are so powerful, because people have written down what they know. And at other points, they lose that, right?
Yeah.
But yet this information is down, or podcasts, or YouTube channels. Always consider the source.
Yep.
It's out there now.
But the important thing is to take the steps, because it's funny, a lot of people read these books and you'll talk to people and they're dealing with the same shit they've been dealing with for 5 years, but they've read 30 books, self-help books.
Yeah.
And all they're doing is they're feeding their ego to make their mind feel good about it, and their mind feels just good enough that
They don't do anything.
there's
No
not
action.
enough pain to act on it.
Yeah.
And then once they start hurting again, they read the book, they feel just good enough again to not do anything.
Mhm.
So you have to be careful. You have to actually take the
Yes.
steps, because
Push
by
through it.
thinking, by learning about it, you're still feeding the ego part of you that's keeping you small, saying like, oh, now I know how to do this. I feel a little better. I feel good enough that I don't need to take the steps.
Hopefully they've taken at least 1 or 2 steps in each book. So by the time they get through the 30,
Yeah.
they've
But
taken a
you'd
lot
be
of
surprised
steps.
at how many people don't.
No, they
It's
don't. You're
true.
right.
You
You're
know?
right.
And I've done
That's
that.
so
I'm talking from
powerful.
experience.
Totally. It's so powerful. I mean, that's a great concept. It's so true that your mind will tell you this is good enough. And then it'll be fine for
Because
a while.
it's better than you felt in a long time.
Yeah.
You know?
I think there's a lot of things out there that the keys have already been given to us. All of us.
Yeah.
Or we have access to the keys.
It's here.
And we just don't take the key and use it.
Yeah.
Everything from money to...
But a lot of times people
growth.
don't even know they can. Like, they don't even know that they can say no, or they don't even know that they have access to this, or they don't even know what's out there.
Because when they were younger, they had to do certain things to get love.
Yeah.
They were taught that love was external, and when you're a kid, you're learning that what you need comes from your parents and comes from
And when you do good,
grandparents,
they
family.
love you. When you do bad, they call you bad boy.
Yeah, so you cheat yourself to do, what they expect.
Mhm.
And then as you get older, you don't realize that love doesn't come that way.
Yeah.
An example that came to me the other day was, if you know how they hear a story about the kids raised by wolves? Well, so a kid raised by wolves is going to know what wolves do. But as they get older and then they re-enter society, if they go up to, a girl that they want to date, and the first thing they do is
Don't
sniff
say
her
it.
butt.
Don't say it. I knew he was going to say it.
But that's not acceptable but you've been trained
It might be.
that
It depends on the girl.
well, but I don't know. I don't know what areas you're looking for girls,
I don't know
Joe.
how to respond to that, Joe.
But it's just that idea though.
The
It's
whole
like
analogy is
you've been
like
taught
whacked.
you've been taught that this is what you do,
yeah, and this is acceptable.
and so your whole life you think that's what it's
and you
supposed to
don't
be.
know any different
Exactly.
until something happens, and then you know different.
And so people do the same thing. They're stuck as what they learned as a
Yeah.
kid, and they don't expand their concepts of love.
Mhm.
So they still think love's external. They still think that they have to earn the love of other people. That's why so many relationships don't go well, is because they think that somebody, first of all, they think that somebody has to give them love, that they deserve the love from this person,
Yeah.
and they feel like they're not complete if they don't have it.
Wow.
So when they don't have it, they get mad at the other person saying,
Right.
why aren't you giving this to me?
Yeah.
And the other person saying, it's like, well, I'm trying to do what makes me happy, and I can't make you happy and me happy.
Totally.
Well, that's why people get very possessive
Mhm.
in relationships, and it
Needy.
get really needy, possessive, and all of a sudden it just goes down a really destructive road.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it all starts with inside,
Mhm.
internal.
And so that's why I love going back to that mirror and realizing
Yeah.
if the external world's a reflection of what's inside, then it's a powerful tool to help you look inside. So when you see something that really frustrates you, stop and say, oh, so what part of me is being reflected here?
Yeah.
Because that's a really good way to catch yourself,
Mhm.
to realize that there's something that you're not happy
Yeah.
with. Hi everybody, if you like what you watched, please subscribe on YouTube and like us on Facebook. And check out our website at alwaysconsiderthesource.com.
Hey, if you want us to come out to your location and do a live setup, we'd love to do that. Continue to send in your questions, and we look forward to interacting with you.
And remember, always consider the source.